Hello, people in the room.
Hello, everybody.
We have our very special second edition with Samantha Newark, the speaking voice of Jem and the speaking voice of Samantha Newark and many things. But today we have a
I'm the
special.
speaking voice of Samantha Newark. I think I do it quite well.
So I had the pleasure of sharing a wall with Samantha this weekend. She's in the room next to me. We walked up, we went in the elevator up together, and we got to spend an hour together after the first night. So I got some special time with her, so I got a preview of what's going to happen today. So I wanted to just kind of help that conversation along for the people on Zoom, the people in here, because I think it's really special what's going to happen and what she's working on. I want to let her talk, and we're sharing a mic here, but I want to let her talk about it. But I'll ask a few questions. We had a conversation in the room together, and I'll try to represent some of the things that we talked about. Not everything is for everyone for this conversation, but just to kind of like help along some of the things and ask her some of the questions, and then we'll do that. We'll come around the room as well when the time comes, and around the Zoom room. So just send us your things on chat to the moderator, and we can ask Samantha those questions as well. But I'll be here kind of next to her, so apologies for that. But without further ado, I'll hand it over to you.
Awesome. This is really great, so I appreciate you.
Yes,
I've had the best time this weekend. Last night on that dance floor with everybody in your incredible, incredible costumes, cosplay, just honoring the show and the way that you do was just, still takes my breath away. It doesn't get old, and it just fills me with all the feels, all the good feels. And this has been really, really good for me. I don't want to cry. Some of you know it's been a very difficult time, and I needed this weekend. I really did. So thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And all of you there, oh my gosh, all of you on Zoom. This is such a beautiful family. It does feel like a family reunion every time I get to come to JemCon. I see so many faces, and some of you I'm meeting for the first time, but I feel like I know you because you're my internet friends. And yeah, it's wonderful. So, and we've got the next generation here, which is so lovely. Messages and good parenting. So, however you manage to get to Jem and whatever it means to you, I'm humbled, and it's my joy to have been a part of it. So there's that. So I've done a lot of panels and a lot of interviews over the years, and I'm told crazy stories, you know, like I lived in Africa and I was touring out there and and it was crazy. Mugabe was taking over, and it was dangerous, and we had armed convoys taking us to shows and a big tour bus, and we couldn't drive at night because of ambushes and hotels getting I mean, it was crazy, and people were like, what? You know? And I've been encouraged to start writing a book. And I know Christy has a book, and Samantha Paris, and so I thought, well, if it's meaningful to you, then maybe I will start to put my words down on paper. This is a work in progress. It's not edited, and it's actually not even professionally recorded in my own booth. It's just sort of getting it out there, and then it'll be worked on. But I wanted to share you just a wee bit. I mean, it's a long journey, obviously. How do you compartmentalize my 55 years? Like, how do I do that? That's a lot. It's a lot, but you have to start somewhere, so I've started somewhere. And I got to share a little bit the other night, and it was lovely feedback, so that was encouraging. And anyway, I'm talking and blah, 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 blah. So I'll play you just a little excerpt from the first chapter, which is when I was little, living in England. And so there's a little bit of that, and then I'll play you some of the introduction that I'm working on for the book. So, and I think the name of the book is going to be, I Remember How It All Began. Truly outrageous adventures of Jem, or something like that, but definitely I remember how it all began. So yeah, and then we'll just go from there, so.
I did quite a lot with my sister. We weren't begging our parents to take us in the car to the big woods so we could go roly-poly down the big hill. We had friends similar ages a few doors down who we would just go off with into the woods. It can't have been far from our house, but it felt like we went far and wide. We romped around the forest for ages, finding new places to play. There were bluebells as tall as my chin everywhere, and once we found an old, dirty orange piano sitting outside, as if the house had just fallen away around it. Then there was a house that had burned down, and that place gave us the creeps, so we would run really fast so we didn't have to look. I have a vivid memory of playing in a 2-story building that was in the middle of being built, and it seemed like no one was ever there, so we would just spend hours playing in that place with the fresh air wafting through, as there were no walls yet, just a floor and support beams to climb on. The smell and feel of the soft sawdust all over the floor and bags of concrete to lay about on and lazily look up at the sky. I remember doing some stupid climbing on things. So when I think about it, we could have been plummeted, any one of us, to the floor with broken bones. But we always scaled it safely and returned home unscathed and ready for a bath and dinner. I don't want you to think my folks were flippant in making sure we were safe, because they were always good about that. But sometimes kids can do stupid stuff under the radar, despite a parent's best efforts. Plus, it was a different time back then. Their generation were allowed to roam until dusk, and it was passed on to us kids in many ways. We explored endlessly with our friends and came home when it was dinner. We were just allowed to be kids. It's different today. One time my sister and I had been dropped off down the street at our friend's house while Mom and Dad went somewhere. And I remember being so annoyed that I wasn't able to just go home. It was the middle of the day. And so I just decided that I was going to march up the street to go home to my house. My sister and our 2 little friends decided to come too, so we all headed over to our house, and to my frustration, we really couldn't get in. I think when your parents say we'll be back soon, your 5-year-old brain thinks, soon? What is soon? Soon is just way too long and vague and completely confusing. I can't remember whose brilliant idea it was to literally try and break into the house, but the 4 of us grubby little hands heaved and hoed and dragged with our little arms my dad's damp and dirty ladder from the back of his shed. God knows how the 4 of us, all under 4 feet, managed to pitch this damn thing to the 2nd-story window, but the window was open, and apparently that was all the incentive that we needed. Before one of us could choose who would actually scale the ladder to climb in the 2nd-story window to rescue us from this afternoon of never-ending child purgatory, my parents came home. We all heard the car door slam in the driveway, and I know you all know that feeling. Uh-oh, busted. Long story short, after seeing the ladder, they thought that we had been robbed. My mom and dad were running around in a panic, asking what we were doing there and if we were okay. They may have even called the police, but I don't remember. None of our plan was really thought through, and now it was all just a bit terrifying and too much for my 5-year-old brain to cop to. I was sincerely a really good kid, and it was way too much to comprehend that I, Samantha, may be in serious trouble. All I could think to do as I backed away from the house and the ladder was to distract them by showing them how big the tomato plants had gotten. I think by this time our little friends had run home, and Caroline and I were left in the aftermath. What's crazy is that when I retold the story to my parents as an adult many years later, they actually never suspected us.
So yeah, I heard that, and tears in my eyes at the kind of the way it flowed, and I was like, it's an audiobook, obviously. You have to record this too. It's like, it's great writing, and no formal training that Sam has in this, but just kind of expressing herself in this way, and then reading what she wrote in this way. I just thought it was high art. So why did you decide to record like your words in this way, and what brought you to this version? Because you're still writing the book. It's very early, but you have to hear it this way, kind of, right? So tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that if I wrote a book, I was going to have to do an audiobook for it. So I thought, well, why not record? Why not hear it back as you guys would be hearing it back and reading it? So that's where that came from. But it's a helpful tool because you can kind of, I want the book to be conversational, and I want it to be like I'm just telling you my story, so it doesn't sound artificial And so it really is organic and just me sort of rolling with it. So, yeah.
So you're starting with this part, the kind of the first memories, the introduction.
Right.
There's a lot of other things that you want to talk about and you want to write about. Like, how do you decide what order you write about things as far as, what stands out the most? What's the thing that you feel most inspired to write about? You might go to your 30s and then might go back to the teenage years. And so how are you going to map that out, or is that too stressful to think about right now?
That's the question.
Yeah.
Because I've never done this before. So, like I was saying, how do you compartmentalize all of these moments, But I have been making notes, and when I talk to somebody about something, and I'd be like, that's actually something I should put in my book. So it's just going to be about organizing it and making it make sense, and and I'm probably going to need some help with that at some point, just to not have it be all over the place. But start with chapter 1 when I was a kid, and then chapter 2 is Little Miss Dynamite, Adventures in Africa. So that will be, and it's going to be so lovely to talk to my mom about that, because I was 6.5 when we left to go there, and 9 when we went back to England, and 10 when we came to America. So, and then there's America and the getting to play the lead in Annie, and all of the auditions, and just there's so much. And then Los Angeles, good Lord. Los Angeles could be a whole book by itself. But of course, Jem, when that happened, and after I'd been there for a few years, and how that was just incredible. I mean, we're obviously still here talking about it, so I can't wait to talk about that. And and then, and my dad, and who managed me for a very long time, and I kind of had to fire him when I was 16, which didn't go over very well. I love my dad, but he was difficult, and we had a very difficult relationship, and I needed to understand who I was outside of the girl that sang and was managed by my dad. Like, what did Samantha think? What did Samantha like? What songs did Samantha want to sing? How did Samantha want to wear her hair? All of these things. I lived in a very, So I want to talk about that, and things that I discovered in my late 40s that really helped me understand the challenges that I'd been through with my dad, the dynamic and what that was, and it actually had a name, and I didn't know that until I was much older, and I thought, my God, if I didn't know this, and I grew up in this, maybe other people need to know this too. Maybe giving it a language will actually help somebody else. And so anyway, that will be kind of where the introduction comes in, which is a bit longer, so I hope you guys don't mind, but it's not terribly long, but.
Let me ask you a couple questions before we play that, because I know it's going to be a big hit with everybody, so I want to get to a couple things I want to ask you about. You talked about your dad and having to fire him, but like the relationship when we talked about it was a little bit like his death was the impetus for you feeling like you could tell the story now because he's not around any longer, and it's your story to tell now because no one else whose story it would be is alive, right? So there's something about that and how he managed you in the way that was not like, you know what to do, you know what to say. It would kind of be like a micromanaging situation, like say it exactly like this. And so tell us more about the dad's part of it. And I want to ask about your sister as well, but let's talk about dad first.
Yeah, so I mean, not to get like horribly heavy, but we all have childhood stuff that we deal with, and I grew up with a narcissistic dad. And I didn't know what that was for a long, long, long time. I didn't understand, and I thought it was some deficit in me that just didn't know how to manage it. And it was a childhood full of gaslighting and abuse toward my mom, and it was very painful and very difficult for my sister and I. And my sister was the one that like climbed out the window at 12 years old and was like, "You're crazy, you people are crazy, I believe it, and I'm gonna just go roller skating," and she cut school and she did all of that. She was like the scapegoat of the family and just took off, and I was the family business since I was 7 years old, so I couldn't figure out how I could extricate myself from that situation without destroying what we had done as a family since my earliest memories, really. So it was very, very difficult journey trying to navigate that. And Jem literally was this unbelievable gift to me that came into my life when I needed it the most, when my parents were getting divorced. And then I got to go off and I got to work and be Jem, and I got to make money, and I got to get my own apartment, and I got to move out of the chaos, and I got to focus on something that wasn't painful, that brought me joy. And so that's kind of that. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm gonna keep crying.
It's emotional. It's sad. Coming to these realizations about yourself and about your life and how it all came together and what things happened at the right times and what things had to happen in order for you to get to where you are. And like, we talked the other day just about, I was just kind of, having an existential crisis in my direction about what do we do? The world is on fire, and what do we do? How do we fix it? Like, I don't feel like it's going to, and all the things that we try to put the love out there in the universe and do the right things to make the world a better place for myself and for other people, not just me.
Right.
And you had a very confident direction. I don't remember how you said it, but maybe you do, but you said something to me that was very helpful about how we should kind of be in the world and present and move forward. So do you want to talk about that?
I mean, I really think it does start with you. It's taking care of your own garden, keeping your side of the street clean and living a life that you want to see mirrored, and there can be teachable moments with other people, because I think people are attracted to something sweet and something pure, and they maybe have forgotten. And if you can walk through the world that way, you can remind people, and so that's what I want to be able to do. The ones that are asleep and are prickly because they've been through so much. I want to penetrate that. I want to create a safe place for them to sort of relax and enjoy their life more. Because we all want the same things. We all want to be happy. We all want to be creative and feel like we're making a difference in the world. And that's all any of us little humans want, So I just want everybody to want that for everybody else, And it starts with you, so, yeah.
Amen, right? I talked with you about, at a con I asked you one time, a previous con I asked you about, did you ever feel ashamed of your work on Jem as a kid's property, and I thought that's why you weren't kind of in the public imagination about Jem right after it was gone, or later, that you were trying to break away from that Jem, the kid mold, but you kind of described it back to me when I asked the question about it being a way that people in Hollywood could age you, because they could associate with a property that was made in '85. That must mean you were probably around 21 at the youngest then. So you want to talk a little bit about the ageism thing, and that's something that's going to come up in the book, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I feel like when I was in Los Angeles, I did everything right. I worked so hard. I played every dirtbag club in Los Angeles. I busted my butt. I paid my dues, and this was the songwriting years. I'd already been paying my dues since I was 7. It's how long is it going to take? I just wanted to be self-supporting, doing what I loved, and be able to bring my music to a bigger stage. And yeah, when I started to get into my 30s, I started to, it was just fear. It was really fear, the gatekeepers that, unless LA was turning into, unless you're 14 and you're a Disney kid, nobody cares. And I was already I was too old to audition for American Idol, because I was 30 and the cutoff was 28. I'm why is the cutoff 28? What are you, a monster old lady by the time you're 30? What just the messages that Hollywood, and I understand, the business, touring, they want young people because it's a lot to tour, and I get that part of it, but there's also there's so many people in my age group that have been through so much, and I'd like to think that I have something to say that maybe a 20-year-old hasn't gotten to yet.
Yep.
And, you know, that there's an audience for that, and that, you know, there's a demographic. So I didn't talk about Jem for a while because I was scared. And God, I remember I almost got this project. It was a pretty big deal, and my mom. This is how insane it was. My mom and I aged me down a decade, and so we were like trying to figure out, like, I was born in '77, and I have, you know, and it was so insane. And then I had a conversation with my mom, and I was like, I literally have been lying about my age since I was 7, because when I was 7, when I was 9, it was cuter to be 8 or 7, so they aged me backwards. And when I was 12, I was being thrust into, like, it's better if you're 18 because you can work without a work permit. So I was lying about my age when I was 15, 16. And I mean, the insanity of a young mind, navigating that, always having to, like, you know, the emotional toll that I don't think I even realized was happening. But it definitely was a thing. And so anyway, I got to the point, I can't even remember when it was, but there was so much love, fierce love for Jem, and you guys have just embraced me so beautifully. And I just thought, what am I doing? What am I doing? This is crazy. This is the insanity of the world that I don't want anything to do with. I don't want to co-sign this because it's bullshit. And I want to, sorry, love. I want to go where the love is, and I've talked about that before. And so I just thought, you know what? I will carve out, I will bring my music to you guys, and if you love my music, then right on. And I'm gonna do it anyway, but I'm not gonna play this game anymore. And so, it's completely unhealthy and sick, and so it's a commitment I made to myself to just not play that game anymore, because I don't care anymore. I've got you guys, and I've got my creative spirit that gets nurtured, and if at the end of the day, I can die a happy person because I have lived with integrity in that way, and that's all I can ask for, so.
That's something you said to another answer to me, another time before Follow the Love. Like, that's what you decided. That was kind of how you make your decisions about your career and what you're doing from now on as a woman in this industry, as a person in this industry, as a person of a certain age, as a person of integrity, or whatever kind of person you are. And you were like, I follow the love. Like, that's the only guiding principle. You said that to me, and I remember that a lot when I'm making my own decisions. You know,
That's amazing.
I wanted to talk about your sister a little bit. You mentioned her in the chapter, and so I was curious after I heard that chapter, what's it like with her still? I know you just lost your stepfather, and your sister came and helped you and your mother get through that. So do you want to talk about, I'm not trying to be Oprah here and make you cry about everything, but do you want to talk about your sister, how that all turned out? Because she was the rebel and you were the family business.
Right.
So tell us a little more about her.
My beautiful, beautiful sister, Caroline. Oh, do I love that girl. I love that girl, I like fiercely love that girl. And we have processed things so differently over the years, and she has had her journey, good Lord, has scared the hell out of me and, you know, everybody that loves her, trying to find her, trying to, like a beautiful wildflower, trying to, you know, get to the light. Like she is just the most beautiful spirit, and we understand each other. And when she came to help my dad transition, we were all there together the day that he died. We were like literally in his room, holding his hand, with the dog lying on his legs, and as sad as that was, it was absolutely beautiful, and it was the end of a chapter, and it's the beginning of a new chapter now. And I think there was something so, it was like beyond our history, or I don't even know how to express it, but it brought us all profoundly closer, and we were already like ridiculously close anyway, but to share that, letting somebody go that you love, that was the best man I ever knew. And I loved my dad. Don't get me wrong, I loved my dad. But my stepdad was, wow, like just solid, kind, consistent, because I didn't have that growing up. I never knew what shrapnel was, what was coming. He was just consistent and kind and wonderful, and my sister needed that so much as well. So it was like the most amazing 35 years with my stepdad that I will treasure forever.
You went to August, right? He was just...
Yeah, he actually said, I'm going, because he had dementia, and he was like, I'm going home in August. And we're like, Papa, where's home? Where are you going? He's like, heaven. And this was in May, maybe, April or May. And he said, I'm gonna go in August. I want to go home. And he died August 1st. He died the first day of August. So anyway, yeah, it's just, you know, it's beautiful and it's bittersweet and it's sad and it's all of these things, and it brings you closer, and it makes you not take your life for granted. And going through that with my dad, I realized, like, wow, I really need to start exercising. Wow, I really need to start taking better care of myself. I really, you know, it's like he's inspired me just to not take things for granted, not take my body for granted, not take things for granted, because we're, you know, we know with Patricia and Ari and Wally Burr and all of these wonderful people that we've lost from Gem, like, it's not promised for any of us. So, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah.
I didn't mean for this to get so heavy, you guys. I'm so sorry.
We love it. I think it's probably time to play a little more, right?
Okay.
You guys want to hear some more from the book?
Yeah,
Samantha reading? We have some questions in the chat. I'm sure you guys have some questions too, so we'll play this and then we might come to the audience for some questions.
Oh, can I just give a shout out real quick to
Yeah.
Philip, all the way in Alberta, Canada.
Yeah.
I can see you, Philip. Philip took care of my stepdad from another country. He's a doctor, and all these wonderful photographs of my stepdad, and he was a carpenter and a chiropractor, and he got t-shirts that said the spine whisperer for him, and sawdust is man glitter, and some of my favorite pictures of my stepdad. Philip said, and he always was like, what medication is he taking, and take pictures of it. And Philip, I love you, and just thank you for just being the most amazing person that you are. You are so precious, and I don't even know how to repay you for your kindness. So shout out to Philip. Yeah.
Philip, do you want to come off mute and say anything, since it is your moment? Are you there? I don't think we can hear him. Sorry, Philip. You'll have to put it in the chat, I guess.
Yeah, sorry, love.
Sorry, okay. We love you. Thank you for that, Philip. So let's play a little more from, this is the foreword that you've written?
Yeah, this is
Okay.
the introduction, so.
I remember how it all began. I remember how it all began with the unexpected death of my father. The poignant first words spoken by my character, Jerrica Benton, in the very first episode of Gem and the Holograms, the beginning. I'm imagining if you're reading these pages or hearing this audio, you're probably here because of the wonderful world of Gem and the Holograms, the cartoon. So many of you have been with me on this crazy, wacky, wonderful journey for many years now. And many of you in my travels have asked me if I'd ever consider writing a book. I guess some of my stories that I've shared from my adventures and interviews have captured your imagination and curiosity, and maybe are worthy of writing down. So I thank you for inspiring me to finally have the courage to do this. I recognize I have been a part of something truly special, a moment in time, getting to work with such talented, amazing people that created and contributed to the whole world of Gem. And this work has truly blessed me in ways that I could never have imagined. Being an indie singer-songwriter for many years now, I really do relate to my roles on Gem. I'm Jerrica Benton, businesswoman, creating and running all that goes on behind the scenes. Well, we didn't have social media, but the social media, wearing a million trillion hats, booking gigs, booking travel, managing all that is this career and stressing over every detail. And then I get to put on my makeup, my big hair, roll out my swagger and some sparkly heels and throw on some glitter and crank the music and walk out on stage just like Gem gets to do. I mean, getting to be Gem is like getting to truly live out your rock star fantasies. As many who are in the entertainment industry will tell you, this is a journey of huge peaks and valleys, feast and famine. It's not an industry for the faint of heart, and you have to be in it for the long run. And you're going to encounter a ton of in-your-face rejection, and all the while being in a business that does not give you direction and offers no real formula for success. You'll meet the most magical peers walking the same path as you, and your tribe who are your biggest cheerleaders. But then you will also encounter many misfits and Eric Raymonds along the way who simply would just love, love, love to see you fail. I always say, be ready to leap into the void and take these huge risks, because it's going to require huge risks and a ton of courage, or a little crazy. Actually, a little bit of both, because you never know where your good is going to come from. The saying, don't quit before the miracle, and you stand in the line long enough, you're going to get to the front, have been my talismans that have literally helped keep me going. It really has been about being boundlessly in love with what you do, like the deepest, most beautiful breath in your lungs, something you literally can't not do. And believe me, failure after failure, rejection after rejection, it can be so hard to just hang in there and remember who you are and why you even started this journey in the first place. All of these things I've learned have sustained me, and then there's the endless support and love and encouragement from my beautiful mother, who is forever my unconditional rock and my biggest cheerleader. And then there are you guys. I can't even begin to tell you what your love and encouragement has meant to me over the years. I'm so honored and grateful, and it makes me feel small and huge at the same time. My Gem is just this incredible gift on a very difficult journey that somehow keeps on giving and breathing new life into me and inspires me to wake up every day and keep creating and growing and sharing with you guys. So how do I possibly begin these pages? I wanted the opportunity to have a voice and speak my truth and tell my story, but at the same time, I didn't want to hurt anybody, and I especially didn't want to hurt my dad. My dad and I have had an extremely complicated relationship, so the idea of ever writing my story while he was here was something I really grappled with. How can I tell my story if I can't tell my story? Then at 9 a.m. on the morning of April 20th, 2020, my dad, Tony, died suddenly and very unexpectedly from a heart attack. It was right in the middle of the COVID crisis. According to my stepmom, he was feeling pretty crappy the night before, but was too afraid to go to the hospital. And with everything going on and families not even being allowed to be there with him, I so understood his fear. We will never truly know if going to the hospital would have ultimately saved his life. Losing a parent is surreal and sad and fucked up. And you expect to be able to have a funeral with your family when your loved one dies, but like so many people during this lockdown, things were far from normal. And we still to this day have not had a funeral for him. being in Nashville, I'm 2 hours ahead of California, and in my world that day, my mom and I were about to host a birthday party for my wonderful stepdad of 30 years, Mel. Decorations, a birthday cake, a lovely day planned ahead, and the doorbell rang with the party guests, and then the phone rang, and it was my sister telling me the news. It was shocking and surreal and strangely such a microcosm of my childhood. The timing, because I could hear my dad saying, "Just pull it out of the bag, Sam. You have a show to do." And so I did. Somehow, as the party niceties ensued, I was grand hostess while simultaneously trying to process the departure of my dear dad from this earthly plane.
So that's the floor.
So yeah, I'm glad that more people besides me and 2 others have heard that now. It's just amazing, right? And it reminds me, and hearing Townsend yesterday too, hearing Sam talk in person, you get the talent, but hearing it recorded like that, that's her art, one of her many artistic ways. And you hear Jem, you hear the exact same voice that's inside that when you were 21 doing that, you know, so it's 18, sorry, yeah. It's hard to keep track when you keep changing your age, you know? You have to remember, it's not like, what was popular slightly before or after, which, I don't know which direction, you know, it's kind of hard, but living a lie, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I just wanted, I was just convinced and tears again this time, but the first time I heard it, just, you have to share this with these people this weekend. It's gonna be amazing, and they're gonna really enjoy it, and I hope you guys did enjoy that. I was gonna say the thing that you said about Jem inspiring your creativity. I think a lot of us, whatever creative endeavors we do, as our jobs or on top of our jobs, are all kind of tie back to Jem and are inspired by Jem, and so I'm glad it's giving you life as it gives us life in that way. I'm going to go to the Zoom and see what people are asking and saying there. I did want to give you a chance to talk about. You talk about your gay friends as your gay friend now. You know how gay boys can be sometimes, and when we were in your room, you sang me a little song about a bad gay friend. Do you want to do a little? You want to do a little acapella of that really quick?
Well, this was like an Eric Raymond moment, you know, and it's like never piss off a songwriter because they might just put a song on their album about you. Which was, "Hey Shady, yeah, I said it, I got a line for you. How's this for torture? You know I warned ya. Well, everybody knows what you do. Hey sugar." I don't remember the words. "All alone and don't get better. All alone in the nasty weather, yeah. All alone with your toys. Couldn't play nice with the other boys. You know the boy toys. To hell with the haters. I'm through with the takers." It's the other way around, actually. "There's no remedy for the boys, yeah. You won't be the Yeah, that was cathartic to write that.
Sometimes you gotta write it down. Don't piss off the songwriter. That's part of the thing. And I'm amazed at how you sat. It's because it's kind of a dance song, really, but you sang it so well a cappella, and you play some other music for me that it's like so different than what we know from you. So I'd love to hear that at some point, you know. So people, stay tuned for that. I think it's gonna be amazing. Yeah, talk a little bit about show business as a woman, especially in your 20s, when you kind of some of the stories, if you want to tell me, and I'll look at this while you tell. Just talk generally about the difficulties of being a woman in show business.
I guess, you know, once the Gem residuals ran out, which they do, which nobody told me, because I was young and stupid and never really thought about that. So, you know, I'm hoofing it around Los Angeles, and at one point, my car broke down, and I couldn't afford to get it fixed. So I had no car for 6 months, and I was on the bus. And you really learn who your friends are when you're taking public transportation, or you're walking, which I did. Walked all over Los Angeles with my guitar. It took me like 4 buses to get over the hill to go to rehearsals and spend like the last $50 to pay for the rehearsal room and just all of this insanity. And if I had $1 for everybody that was like, I saw you walking up Crescent Heights the other day with your guitar. It's like, really? Thanks. Thank you for driving past me and yeah, crazy stuff. And I think a lot of women could, and men can relate to this too. I mean, if I wouldn't sleep with one of my guitar players or whoever was into me, I would get punished, and they would withhold, and they would withhold their time. They would withhold rides to the studio. I mean, just so gigs and just manipulative stuff that I constantly had to navigate. Because I wouldn't do it. I was like, no, music here, personal stuff there. I don't do that, and it happened so many times, and it was such an Achilles heel, and I think women can really relate to that when you're just like, I'm here for the music. What part of I'm here for the music? And it was hard to not take it personally because you want people to see your talent, and so they would talk really big and you're so talented and I want to work with you, but there was an agenda. So here come the gay boys in my life, my gay husbands, my brothers from other mothers, yes, who have like nurtured my little artist heart, that don't want anything from me other than for me to succeed and shine and fly. And oh my gosh, I mean, obviously I have straight friends that do that too, and they're my dear circle of people that I love, and they're, but people wonder why women have gay friends, and that is a huge, huge part of it, and it's not, I'm not a man hater in any way. I love men. Like, I love men, and I know some incredible men and beautiful men, but there have been a lot of Eric Raymonds out there on my path that I wish I could have slapped like I did in the cartoon. Yeah.
Thanks for telling that story, Sam. So I'm going to go to the Zoom chat first, and you people in the audience think of what you want to ask as well. I'll have you come up and ask it on the mic so people on Zoom can hear it. So if you want to line up, if you have a question, just line up over here. We can take them one at a time. Jem in England asked us, what do you miss most from the time you were recording for Jem?
Oh my gosh, just, I would be lying if I didn't say a steady paycheck. Yeah. Because that gives you freedom, and I felt like I could finally relax. I could just relax, and that was just a lovely feeling. I felt very abundant. But just the work itself, I mean, the challenge and the going in and with all the butterflies and hoping that you're going to do a great job, and then being on the other side of it and then feeling proud of yourself, that was so rewarding. So I love that. I mean, I love the creative process in that way, because you are walking into it blind and you're out of your comfort zone, but that is so healthy. It's so healthy to be out of your comfort zone and always push yourself to be out, because otherwise I think your neural pathways, your life gets really, really small. So I love that creative venture. Jem from England. Jem from my country, the UK. Yes. Gosh. That's so cool. Thank you for your question, Jem.
Next question is from Amy. She says, now that you're doing this for your book, are you thinking of doing audiobooks for other authors in the future as well?
Yes, thank you for your question, Amy. Wait, is that Amy Rhodes from Texas?
Yes.
Hi, Amy.
Yeah.
Hi, sweetie. No, that's not Amy Rhodes from Texas.
Yeah, but she's from Texas, I think.
Oh, awesome.
As well.
Hi, sweetheart. Yeah, I did. I got to do an audiobook for Jace Peoples. He wrote a children's book, LGBTQ-friendly, beautiful children's book called Squares Their Pair. And he hired me to do the audiobook for that. And yeah, now that I have my home studio, I would love to start doing audiobooks. Yeah. So, I mean, so much of the voiceover world is auditioning. you know? I'd love to do some meditations too.
That would be great.
Everybody
Great voice for that.
breathe,
Yeah.
take a breath. Imagine yourself in the Starlight House with a cup of coffee, and all the Starlight girls are sleeping right now. We finally have some peace. Yeah, it would be really fun.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great too. Just to relay for Philip, since he's not able to come and speak to us, he just says that the book is so good, it's flowing and reflective. It will be full of vivid and important memories. It will be a therapeutic journey. So I think that's part of what your intention is too, just to get your story down on paper, right?
It kind of is. I mean, in a selfish way, you know. Yeah, it is. I think we all want to have a voice in the world, and mine's a little unique because of you guys and what I do, and that you're actually interested in what I have to say sometimes. So that's lovely. But yeah, I think it'll be very cathartic. It already is. It already is.
Cool.
It's
Cool.
good.
Vasily from Russia is asking.
From Russia.
Yeah,
Oh my
he's been
God.
out all weekend. He's been.
That's
he's
so
went to the
amazing.
buffet.
Hello.
So let me see. Is he on screen? Yes, there he is, right there.
Hello.
So he's asking about what you think of. I lost it. Hold on. Jem was pre-auto-tune. What do you think of the modern obsession with pitch correction in the music industry?
Ugh. I mean, I can't say like, so I was a session singer in LA for a lot of years, and you know, there is something nice about if, you know, they can go in, they can fix it and make it perfect. You know, and for time's sake and stuff like that, if you're knocking out songs, if you have to knock them out in 4 hours and all of that stuff. So I mean, it's cool, but it's just tragic how it's completely overused, and people who can't sing, because when you sing, you have to be able to hit the note. Like that's the definition of like the notes here, and if you can't get there, you're not a singer.
Right.
You know, you're probably brilliant at other things, but so with the auto-tune madness, it's just, and you can hear it too. It's a weird sound, and so yeah, I'm not a fan. I mean, I'm from the days of like reel-to-reel things and singing it through, and it was a big deal to make a mistake because they had to literally cut the tape and tape the tape, and like, you know, so you learn to sing and not make mistakes. And
you still did it. We just saw you do it, so you did it, right?
My voice is fried from talking all weekend, but yeah, I mean, to me, my favorite singers are the ones that can just sit up on a stage with just a guitar player, guitar and vocals, and just do it. You know, they don't need anything. Maybe just some good acoustics in the room or a nice mic, but that's it. You know, that to me is a singer, and those are the ones that I'm just like, oh my God, I love. So yeah.
So I know you know, or probably know, we've been talking about a lot this week, and they rebooted X-Men '97. They bring back some of the voice actors that are still around to be part of the reboot, and
I didn't know
and
that.
some of the same, like the creative people behind it. So they're going to pick the story up in 1997 when the show ended. So the
That's
question,
smart. Somebody's thinking.
Somebody's
It's
thinking,
smart.
right? Yeah.
Like it's about time, right?
So the question from both Gio and Christian is, if they did reboot Jem, would you be interested in being the voice of Jem and Jerica? I wonder what your answer might be to that.
I hate those characters. I mean, I keep hearing that I still sound like Jerica and Jem, so I'd like to think I still do. So yeah, I mean, my gosh, if Christy were involved, I mean, yeah, I just would hope. It's hard. It was a different time back then, and even though the show has stood the test of time and it's still relevant to you as a 15-year-old, I would hope they wouldn't deviate too much from what made it so special, and have like, I don't know, there's something so pure and so simple and lovely about the brand, and it would have to be in the best of hands. Otherwise, I wouldn't want to be involved in something that, you know, just didn't feel right. So it would need to have the heart and the integrity and the fun and all of that. And I can't imagine that without Christy, to be honest, you know? I mean, so, yeah.
I think, yeah, the X-Men case, I think they're bringing back the Christie equivalent of X-Men, so she would be part of this hypothetical thing we're all thinking of. I have a few more questions in chat, but I want to get to some people in the room. So Christine, you want to ask first?
Hi, Cindy. Your cosplay was so amazing last night.
It was so
Getting
cute.
to dance with you. It was so fun.
I wanted to say thank you so much for beginning to embark on sharing your story. And my question is, what do you wish to, or what pearls of wisdom do you hope to share with folks who are struggling to find their own voice or struggling to find themselves?
I love that.
That's a great
That's a good
question.
question.
Gosh, I can only hope, you know, I remember when I was a kid and people would say to me, don't ever change, and I couldn't really understand what they meant by that. I was like, why would I change? And the longer you're in the world, the crazy world on fire, the more you start to understand why people change, why people shut down, why people put on their armor, why people become mean, why people become aggressive. And I really got that, and I thought we really have two choices here in the world, is to let the world beat you down into something that you're not, somebody that you don't even recognize anymore, because everybody has pain. Everybody who's woken up in the morning and been on the planet long enough has pain. Or you can let it deepen you and deepen your, hello, synergy? That's so weird. Yeah, but you can let it not destroy you, you can let it deepen you and soften you and make your empathy. I have more empathy because of the stuff that I do. Whoa. She fixed it.
I was over there.
She's like, I didn't do it. Thank you, love. I'm going to unplug that just in case.
Just in case, yeah.
Yeah, so I think those are your choices in the world. You either let the world beat you up and you become somebody that you don't even recognize anymore, and then the world will respond, and then it's like this ping pong from hell that keeps going. Yeah, and it's so sad. Like, I have compassion for people. It's not like I want to hang out with them necessarily, but I have compassion. I understand it all comes from pain. And I want to, I guess the pearls of wisdom, to answer your question in a really long way, would be don't let the world make you harsh. Let the world make you strong and open your heart and make you wise and make you have compassion for people that have pain and have good boundaries. You have to have good boundaries to be able to take care of yourself. But that's what I would say. Yeah.
That's great advice.
Before I came here, I just finished watching the documentary Life After Tomorrow, which was a lot of women who were involved with Annie growing up. And you mentioned Annie. So I'd love to hear some of your Annie stories from another iconic property you were involved with.
Oh my gosh.
Give us an Annie story. Is it going to be a chapter?
So kids of a certain age, I was obsessed with Annie. Like I've heard you guys talk about, I was obsessed with Jen growing up. Oh my God, I was so obsessed with Annie, I couldn't stand it. I wanted to be Annie so bad. And I remember when we moved to Virginia, there was a commercial that came on for New York. It was just like promoting New York, and all the casts from all the different Broadway shows, like a chorus line, they would be singing, I love New York, and it was all the cast. I'm getting chills right now, remembering it. And I would be sound asleep in my bed, and as soon as I heard the I Love New York commercial, I would bolt out of bed because the Annie cast was a part of it, and all these Annie kids were like, I love New York, and it was so fun. So I got to see the original with Dorothy Loudon and Andrea McArdle in Washington, D.C., and it was brilliant. I got to go backstage, and I just was like, this is my life. I want to be backstage with the kids, and I want to wear the orphan clothes, and I want to be Annie. I'd settle for an orphan. I just want to be a part of it, you know? So they had auditions for, it was an abbreviated production of Annie with the United States Navy Concert Orchestra, which was a pretty big deal, and they auditioned hundreds of kids from all over, and I got Annie, and I got to do the abbreviated performance without so much dialogue, but there was some, but not all of it. And it was just an incredible, incredible night. So Martin Charnin, who wrote the lyrics for Annie, I mean, the songs in that musical are just incredible. So he came to see me, and he flew me to New York to audition for the London Broadway production of it. And so I went to New York, and I had to like dance and sing and audition again, but I was getting too tall. I was like the tallest girl in my class. And after lining me up with the other kids and all of that, the news came back that I was too tall and that I was going to grow, because it was 6 months until we would start rehearsals. And I remember my mom like begged him, like, get a taller Daddy Warbucks. I think she even said that to him, like, just get a taller Daddy Warbucks. And he was like, no, she's gonna grow with 6 months. It's like,
Can't lie about your height.
you
really.
can't lie about your height, exactly. So funny, oh my God, we tried, yeah. So I went from like 4'10" to 5'5", and like, it's just, I sprouted up, because I was 11 at that point, and I didn't get any. I didn't get to go to London and do it, but I got to like sing at the Ohio State Fair, and I got to open for Pat and Debbie Boone and Eddie Rabbitt, and I got to do like all of these other amazing things. But it was my first showbiz heartbreak, because I've never wanted anything so much in my life. And even though I got to be Annie in Washington, I wanted to go to London, and I had a British passport still, and just all of it, and you know. So anyway, that was my Annie story.
Kind of an arbitrary reason not to have your dreams come true. Another Hollywood like thing, right? Like another like random thing.
Very random thing.
Like too
yeah,
tall.
I know, right?
So I know we're over time. Thank you so much for your
Oh my
time. I have a
God.
couple more questions, and we're
Yeah.
gonna have a little. I'll give you a little break before we do the autograph session. We'll do it in here.
Okay, that sounds lovely.
Okay, so we'll do a 10-minute break after this is over. For you people on Zoom, no autographs for you. You have to buy them on SamanthaNewark.com at the store. Get them at the store, right? But we can do the autographs in here. So I think this is a great thing to. So Carlos is asking. Carlos from Portugal, right? Is it Portugal?
Hi, Carlos.
Yes.
He's
There.
yeah.
Okay. He is also a musician. He wants to know when the book's going to be done. He's already pressing you for a date.
So, I'm hoping to have it out by in time for like maybe October of next year, because I have a lot of work to do. So, I think it'll be around like before Christmas, so that you can get it kind of in time for Christmas type of thing. So and it's good to set goals. So that's I'm speaking in front of all of you. Oh my God!
Now you have a deadline. Now you have a
I'm in for it
deadline.
now.
You're going to self-publish it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so self-publishing the book itself, which we can all do now with the things, which is a good thing, because no one gets the cut. You get to be Jerica and Jem
Right.
and all of it. And the same with the audiobook. You're going to be able to record that and get
I can
all the
record it
profit.
myself
Yeah, you
and-
record it in your own studio,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I can record it in my own studio that I hand sew. Listening to Pink Floyd's Division Bell. I just hand sew in my studio. It's awesome.
So that's our responsibility once the book comes out, is to all buy it and tell our friends about it and download the audio version and listen to it. Yeah. Yeah, maybe we get a pre-order link up, maybe. That would really make you have to do it, right?
Yeah, that's probably what I'll have to do, because I'll probably have to do pre-orders in order to implement the production of the books, like what I did with my records and stuff. So, yeah, I'm excited. Yeah.
Great. So
Here's the next journey. Here we go.
Lindy from Singapore says, take your time, you can't rush art. So she's giving you a little grace there.
That's sweet. Thank you.
And Amy wants to know, well, she wants to say, first of all, thank you so much for coming to JemCon. Well, Miranda says she wants to hear your meditation tape, so that's another project. So that's really on the docket. And Lindy's from Malaysia, sorry, not Singapore. And Amy wants to say thank you so much for coming to JemCon this year. You've been our featured star all weekend, so it's been lovely having you. And she wants to know where you're going to be. She wants to know where you're going to be making your next appearances, cons, signings. What's coming up for you?
I'm doing something it's October 22nd. I haven't announced it yet, but it's an appearance up in Metropolis, Illinois. It's this town called Metropolis, and literally the whole town's dedicated to Superman. And it's the coolest place. And I did a show there years ago, and I was like, this place is amazing. So, yeah, they're having me out for like an 80s event, October 22nd. So I'll have all the stuff on our website when I get home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for coming. Thank you, Sam. Again, it's been such a lovely time.